This guy was ghosted by his party as a useless tamer until he bonds with Canade and unlocks OP beast powers. Now demi-human baddies are coming for his power train, if you know what I mean.
The story is about a failed adventurer named Reen who was kicked out of his band for being pathetic, and none of the other members object to his decision. Reen is known around town as a monster tamer and is able to communicate with and befriend them. Although he was weak and lacked combat skills, he helped his squad locate and eliminate monsters, all the while believing that he was providing adequate support to his comrades and that they trusted him before he ended up expelled and homeless. At first, Reen thought they were playing a prank on him, but Arios told him he meant it, and when he saw everyone giving him serious looks, he realized he was no longer welcome, so he wanted to at least find out why. Reen approached him and told him that the main reason was that he was scum and useless, and that his presence was a hindrance to their progress. Arios then told him that all he could do was carry things using the animals he tamed. Reen couldn't believe how much his comrades hated him and saw him as a burden with a useless skill. He tried to defend himself, but Arios interrupted him and told him not to say anything that would make him more ridiculous than he already was and ordered him to lead his equipment before he left the headquarters. The band thought that by expelling a useless member like him, they could finally conquer the Forest of the Lost and obtain its treasures, while Reen left his equipment and left without intending to return and ended up sitting behind a tree, remembering what they called him, that he was weak as a child and lacked the skills required to be a member of their band. He thought they were being cruel to him because they had high hopes for him, but he realized that they didn't care about him at all. He thought about what he should do now that he was broke and homeless. Then he found a group of children who asked him if he had finished his mission with his band and asked him to tame a bird for them. He used his power to target the bird and cast a magic spell that tamed it to land in front of them and start doing whatever Reen told him for some time before he freed it to fly in the sky again. When they wondered about it, he told them that he can make temporary contracts with tamed animals that do not last long under his control. One of the children was amazed at his power and told him that he wanted to be a tamer like him when he grew up. Reen was surprised because he thought he wanted to be a hero before and said that he saw his captain and the rest of the band members always annoyed by the commoners trying to approach them while they kissed up to the nobles. It was then that Reen realized what the commoners thought of Arios and his band, that they saw them as a bunch of snobs, and that's why they treated him badly in the past when he went to buy supplies. When they told him that he was different from them because he always came to play with them and treated them nicely, he felt confused and refused to tell them about being kicked out of the band. When the children told him that they wanted to become adventurers in the future, he thought of starting his own adventuring career and liked the idea of living as a free bird, going wherever he wanted, making money with his skills, and not worrying about defeating the Demon King anymore. Reen then went to the Adventurers Guild and met the receptionist Natalie, who was going to explain the entrance exam, but he asked her to tell him about the adventurer's profession from the beginning, as he didn't know much about it because his former band looked down on adventurers. After she explained everything to him, she started telling him about the test. When she asked him about his category and he answered that he was a monster tamer, she worried about his solo work and warned him not to do anything rash. He felt frustrated for a while and then promised her that he would be careful. She then told him that the purpose of the entrance exam was to minimize the possibility of inappropriate adventurers shaking people's trust in the guild and to prevent government interference in their work, and that he would have to kill 10 goblin monsters and collect 20 types of herbs. After that, Reen headed to the test area and was able to carry out his seemingly simple task with the help of a squirrel that he tamed to locate the goblins. After obtaining their magic stones, he decided to finish collecting the herbs and then turn back, but he was surprised to hear screams from inside the forest, so he did not hesitate to head towards the source of the sound. When he arrived, he found a huge tiger planning to prey on a girl and trapping her under a tree, so he rushed towards him carrying a knife and planted it in his head before his hand reached the girl. But he was shocked when he saw his blade shattered as soon as it touched the tiger's head. Then he found the tiger focused on him, and although he was about to die, he preferred to be eaten instead of the girl. Then he told her to run away now before he stood in front of the tiger to save her time. But he was surprised that she stood behind him and then jumped high towards them to finish him off with a single kick that knocked him down. Reen was curious about her identity, and when he noticed her tail and ears, he realized that she was a cat spirit, and as soon as the tiger's body faded, the girl began to lose consciousness, so he took her in his arms and tried to hear what she wanted to say, and she told him that she was starving. So he brought her food and sat down to watch her devour it greedily. He remembered that her species is endangered, and although they lack the use of magic, they are able to rely on their physical strength to fight. After she finished eating, she thanked him for saving her life, as she hadn't eaten or drank anything for several days and thought she was on the verge of death. Then she introduced herself to him and told him her name was Canade. He told her his name and that he was in the midst of his adventurer's test when he met her. He then asked her what she was doing in the forest before he came, and she told him that she decided to travel to a new place, as her few species live in deadly silence deep in the mountains due to their small numbers, and over time she began to get bored, so she decided to take a trip to new places to explore them. Then she told him that she felt as if they were destined to meet each other through her journey. When she asked him to tell her more about him, he told her that he was kicked out of a band he had been a member of for 6 months. As he spoke to her, he felt strange about himself, since moments ago he had considered it too sad to tell anyone, but he didn't hesitate to tell her when she asked him, and when Canade learned what Arios had done to him, she was furious and told him that it was unforgivable, while Reen was grateful for her anger for him and told her that it's okay now. He then added that they were right to look at him as an obstacle and that he was no longer angry about it. He then approached her and patted her on the head to thank her for caring about him. When she looked at him, he realized that his reaction was too spontaneous, but he soon found her smiling at him and didn't mind if he put his hand on her head. Canade tells him that he is not useless and that she sees him as a strong person who can save others. He tells her that he is just a monster tamer and there is nothing else he can do, so she tells him that she trusts his great talent for that ability and that he can tame them. She then explained to him what happened when she saw him attacking the tiger and that she felt an electric charge running through her body, and that's why she realized that he could tame her as he wished, as there are few people in the world who can tame her kind. When she asked him to devote his time to trying to tame her, he was surprised that he might be able to tame one of the most powerful species in the world. He hadn't thought about it before, but if he succeeded, Canade would be a great help to him in his journey as an adventurer. Despite being a cat spirit, he felt a desire and curiosity to get to know Canade better, so he agreed to fulfill her request and try to tame her to accompany him on his journey as an adventurer, then cut himself to create a red magic circle. Then he projected the circle towards her to bring out a magical aura surrounding Canade and told her that they would make a new contract to form a bond that would last forever and become his follower and dedicate her strength to his service. And when Canade spoke her name, the contract was concluded between them and Reen succeeded in taming her. And when she looked at her hand, she found the symbol that binds them inscribed on it, and she felt very happy that she had become bound to him forever and would accompany him on his journey from now on. Reen returned to the Adventurers Guild after completing his mission, and Natalie told him that he had passed the entrance exam and was officially recognized as an F-rank adventurer. He quickly became excited when he received his new identification card as well as 50 copper pieces as a reward. She then told him that as he continued to rise in rank, he would earn more money and be able to take on more difficult missions, and told him that she had high hopes for him since he had passed the entrance exam so quickly. Reen thought that if he was going to work his way up in rank, he would need a place to call home, and the money he made now wouldn't cover the cost of one night in an inn. When he returned to Canade, he found her excited about becoming an official adventurer. He asked her if she'd be willing to help him with missions from now on, and Canade didn't mind. They were then interrupted by a gruff voice from behind, as an obnoxious-looking person approached them after noticing the presence of one of the cat spirits in the guild. When the obnoxious person approached her and asked her what she was doing in such a place, she felt angry at his intrusion and refused to answer his question. So he told her not to be rude to him and offered to have a drink together instead of staying with a boring boy like Reen. Canade was furious at him and told him not to make fun of her leader and that he had tamed her. Reen intervened to tell him that he was basically a monster tamer, which made him burst out laughing, not believing that a loser like him could tame one of the most powerful species living on Earth. Canade tells him that he is a poor judge of character and that she thinks her leader is much stronger than him, so he decides to go along with her and challenges Reen to an arm wrestling match to see who is the stronger of the two, and stipulates that Canade will be the winner's prize. Reen stood there motionless. The abomination thought he was afraid and told him that someone like him who could tame a cat spirit shouldn't have any trouble defeating him. Reen thought that he might be exposed to Canade again if he decided to quit and considered them weak and unable to defend themselves. He went to the table and agreed to duel him in front of everyone, while his opponent taunted him and told him not to cry if he broke his arm, and as soon as he said the word to start, Reen was surprised that he was able to defeat him after crushing his hand on the table and causing it to break. When Natalie came out to the lobby after hearing the commotion, she went to apologize to Reen and Canade and told them that the syndicate was aware of the person's strange behavior and had already suspended his license. Then she was curious to ask him how he managed to make a contract with one of the most powerful bloodlines on Earth during his entrance exam, and when she realized that her tone was too intimidating, she told him that she was happy that he had found a strong partner and was confident that he would do well with her. After she left, Reen stared at his hands in disbelief that he had the strength to beat someone in arm wrestling. Canade told him that he had gained strength as a result of his contract with her, and that it had enhanced his power as her master, which meant that he had become as powerful as a cat spirit. Canade was excited to start the adventurers' quests, thinking that they would be hunting monsters or exploring caves, but was soon disappointed when she ended up helping him gather herbs. She expressed her exasperation that they should be searching for a legendary sword or rescuing kidnapped princesses. He told her that he was still at the lowest rank, so they had to do simple, rudimentary tasks until they gained experience. When she had the confidence to put more effort into the herbs, she was surprised to find him using a group of rabbits to gather more. She felt frustrated and told him that she was the one who should be helping him as his companion. She felt jealous that a group of rabbits were getting praise instead of her. As she complained, she sensed danger nearby and told him that something was going on in the forest. Meanwhile, a group of bandits were harassing an old man whose guards had abandoned him. On the other side, Canade realized it was the notorious Ebon Fangs, a group of bandits with more than 100 members. When she suggests that they go for help, Reen tells her that they're running out of time and must stop them now. They make a plan together to protect the old man. As they set off towards the bandits, Reen starts beating them up while Canade goes towards the old man to protect him. him. She thought it was good that Reen was able to fight with her power, but at the same time she was worried that he would have trouble adjusting to his new powers and that it would have a negative effect on his mind, so she thought it would be safer for her to take over the fight against the bandits. When she looked at him, she saw that he was doing well on his own and was surprised to see her heart racing as she watched him fight for them. After he finished teaching them a lesson, he approached Canade and the old man and noticed her blush. She was confused and changed the subject to admiring his fighting abilities. He told her that he learned martial arts to avoid harming animals that are difficult to tame with weapons. Then the old merchant interrupted them to express his gratitude to them for saving him. Reen wondered how a merchant like him could travel without guards, and the old man told them that he had hired some of them, but ended up alone after things went bad. Then he expressed his concern that the gang would want to take revenge and advised them to run away. Reen then decided to save everyone from their tyranny and take them all as prisoners. Canade was shocked by his unexpected decision and told him that capturing more than 100 people is too much for them. He tells her that he has a good plan and enlists the help of an animal to lead him to the gang's hideout. When they arrive, he finds Canade crying and feeling ashamed that she is useless to him since he is using the help of animals in her presence. But she soon felt better when he told her that she misunderstood his ability and that just because he uses animals doesn't mean they are useless to him. When she asked him about his plan, he said that the plan involves a temporary contract with a certain type of bee that has the ability to paralyze any living creature for 12 hours by stinging it. Canade marveled that he could tame a bee even though it was classified as an insect. He told her that he had undergone training in the past to help him tame insects, a secondary ability for monster tamers, and asked her to go back to town to get some reinforcements while he sent the bees after the bandits. She felt frustrated again at his choice to take on dangerous tasks alone and wondered if she was really useful to him. She shook these negative thoughts out of her head and asked him what kind of reinforcements he wanted. He asked her to bring more adventurers and knights to help them capture this large number of people. After she left, the bee he had tamed brought the other members of her hive, and he used his ability on all of them and began to execute his plan. Meanwhile, Lean and Mina were in agony after being chased by bandits on their way to the Forest of the Lost, but they managed to elude them and stop to catch their breath for a while. Then Lean felt compelled to act on her own without consulting Arios and Agathe. She then expressed her displeasure at his flattery towards a wealthy non-royal and suddenly blamed the new member, Reen's replacement, for not giving them time to use their spells. He told them he was just a monster tamer and didn't know how to fight. She wondered at his excuse and remembered that Reen could fight on the front line sometimes, even though he was in the same class. Mina wondered why he hadn't scouted the area before they went in and used some animals and not just a squirrel. The new tamer found himself accused by the girls and blamed for the failure of their mission. He told them that most tamers can't tame more than one animal at a time, and if he tried to do so, it would damage his nervous system. Lean was surprised to hear this, as she had thought all this time that it was normal for a tamer to be able to tame more than one animal at a time as Reen was doing. She then decided to hold him fully responsible and used her magic to finish him off and told him that Mina had enough healing magic to bring him back to life. The tamer fled before he was killed, and Lean was furious and decided to turn back, thinking that what that scum had said made Reen look like an indispensable hero and refusing to believe that he was good at what he did. Reen, on the other hand, succeeded in his plan and temporarily paralyzed all the bandits with bee stings and was able to enter their lair and capture them all. Then Canade joined him with several adventurers who helped them tie up the bandits. In the evening, some of the adventurers, impressed by his courage and the skills he had shown earlier in the guild against the infamous adventurer, asked him to let them take over, and when he noticed that the knights had not come with them, they told him that they had refused their request and said they did not have time to deal with mere thieves. After they left, Reen patted Canade on the head and thanked her for bringing help so quickly, when they were surprised by a violent vibration and a strange sound approaching them, and soon found a group of lizard monsters coming out of their hiding place. Reen was shocked by the presence of mid-level monsters in such a place. One of the bandits confidently told him that they had been keeping them for just such circumstances, and before he could finish his sentence, he ended up dead at the hands of one of them. Then the monsters started attacking everyone indiscriminately. Reen decided to intervene immediately and managed to take down one of the monsters with Canade's help. He then told the others to take the prisoners and run away quickly. Standing against the monsters alone with Canade, he wondered what his old self would have done in such a situation, and that things were different now thanks to Canade's presence. As time passed, the adventurers worried that Reen and Canade would not be able to survive alone against the monsters, but they were surprised to see them emerge from the maze with several magical stones, and as they gathered around them, Reen felt happy that everyone recognized him after he was kicked out of his previous squad for being useless, and then told Canade that having her by his side made him feel like he could do anything. Reen and Canade returned to the Adventurers Guild, and Natalie considers their encounter with the bandits a major accomplishment, promoting Reen to rank E. As a result, they receive a handsome bonus that enables them to buy some equipment, have a fancy dinner, and stay in an inn. Unfortunately, the owner told them that she only had one room available, so they had to book it. Reen ended up thinking about how he and Canade would sleep in the same room, and while Canade was amused and excited to try out the bed, she was surprised by his decision to camp outside. She catches him before he leaves the room and asks why he wants to camp outside after they've already paid for a a week. He hesitantly tells her that he can't sleep in the same room with a girl, and she tells him that she doesn't mind sharing a room with a guy like him because she trusts him. Reen felt in a quandary because he couldn't explain it to her. He told her that she shouldn't trust people so easily because they barely know each other. When he asked her why she trusted him, she told him that she trusted him for who he was, that she found him different from the others, that they quickly became friends, and that she couldn't let her boyfriend sleep outside. Reen felt the sincerity of her words and did not want to argue with her, so he decided to sleep inside the room, and after he fell into a deep sleep, Canade sat quietly contemplating him and felt that he was a good person compared to all the people she had met in her life so far, as many humans tried to hunt her due to the scarcity of cat souls in order to benefit from her strength. But after meeting Reen, she was surprised that he saved her life for free and treated her like a normal girl of his kind, so she became happy with him and thought that he might still be affected by his expulsion from his former band. But he pretends otherwise, so she wants to heal the wound inside him to see him smile from the bottom of his heart. After a week, Reen and Canade get used to working together collecting herbs, enjoying his quiet life as an adventurer, and one day they are assigned the task of confronting the bridge guard dog, a strange creature that appears out of nowhere and intercepts anyone who tries to cross the bridge and fights against it, and when it ends up winning, it leaves on its own. Fortunately, it hasn't caused anyone to die so far. Reen felt that the mission required a more powerful adventurer than himself and asked if Natalie thought E-rankers like him were qualified to stop the creature. She replied that this mission is open to all adventurers, and whoever defeats the saboteur first will receive a large reward. Reen and Canade's eyes lit up when they realized that the reward was 5 gold coins. Reen agreed to the mission and immediately headed towards the bridge. When they arrived, Canade was impressed by its vast size and told her that this bridge was the only way to travel from the central continent to the southern continent. Reen found that those who had been defeated by him refused to reveal any information about the creature, so he had to be extremely cautious since he was facing an unknown enemy. Then, to their surprise, a giant red dragon appeared above them, and they soon realized that this was the reason why everyone was afraid to approach the bridge. When it landed in front of them, it transformed into a human girl with red hair and dared them to fight her right here and now. Reen wanted to make sure that she was the guard dog that attacks everyone who crosses the bridge, and she told him that she doesn't like that nickname very much and that she is actually a half-dragon named Tanya who uses this bridge as her training ground. Reen wonders what she's talking about, and Canade tells him that it's the law of the breed that when a half-dragon turns 15, he goes on a journey to become as strong as possible. Tanya confirms her words and says that she was looking for a strong person to duel with, and she thinks she's found her match and doesn't mind fighting both of them at the same time. They were surprised when she told them that she would not lead the bridge until she had the honor of facing them, and Reen felt that he was in trouble for having to face one of the most powerful species on Earth. But Canade assured him that she was by his side and that she would lend him her strength as one of the most powerful species as well, so he gained confidence and prepared to teach her a lesson. Before he knew it, Tanya was rushing towards him and attacking, but he was able to block it. She told him that this blow was enough to take out half of the people she had faced so far, which meant they had passed her first test. Then, without warning, she used her flame breath to attack them all at once, and while Reen was able to dodge it, the fire burned part of Canade's tail as she continued to jump, but he helped her put out the fire. Canade felt sorry for her tail and decided to take revenge on her for ruining its distinctive shape. They began to clash at close range in front of Reen, who was amazed to see two of the most powerful species fighting each other with equal strength. He decided to take the opportunity to surprise Tanya with an attack and support Canade, but she was able to block both of them at the same time, and they ended up flying through the air after she threw them away. Reen couldn't believe that his attack didn't work on her despite using his power boost, and before he could think of what to do, she launched a fiery attack that was enough to turn them into ashes. But they miraculously dodged the attack. When she found them still standing, she admired their strength and told them she enjoyed fighting with them. Reen felt it was arrogant to think they could defeat half a dragon in direct combat because of how strong she was. Then he decided to fight like a real monster tamer and asked Canade to give him 3 minutes of time and he would take care of the rest. After he left, she was alone against Tanya and didn't hesitate to attack her with a series of blows. On the other side, Reen recalled what happened when Tanya threw them into the sky and a bird appeared in front of him. He used his power to tame it and told him to bring his friends here, then went back to where the girls were and told Canade that he would take care of it now. When Tanya thought she was going to fight him one-on-one, he told her that first she would have to get past a huge flock of birds that swooped down and started pecking at her body. She soon felt provoked by their sheer number and pushed them away. Then she told him that trying to distract her would not work, and suddenly she found herself falling down and unable to stand. He told her that he had used a poisonous type of bird to keep her down for a while, and she had no choice but to give up and admit defeat. When Reen decided to take her with them, she asked him if he was going to sell her to another human. He told her that he wanted to talk to her and hoped she would promise not to do it again. When she asked him what would happen if she refused, he didn't give her a straight answer and she felt like he was just a weirdo. Canade pokes her and tells her not to cause any more trouble for them and keeps poking her until she agrees to go with them. In the evening, they head to the syndicate and Natalie is surprised to find that they have successfully stopped the saboteur and the bridge is safe. She tells them she'll give them the reward after verifying verifying their words. When she notices Tanya is with them, Reen gets confused and claims she's just a girl they ran into on the job who looks like a costume. She was furious and told him not to speak for her again. She was about to tell Natalie the truth about her, but he shut her up and pulled her out. He told her that revealing her identity to everyone would cause panic in the whole town. Before he could finish his speech, he was surprised to find that she had disappeared and was heading towards another adventurer to challenge him to a duel. He took her to a clearing and told her not to tell anyone who she was and to get as far away from the town as she could while she still had a chance to do so, because the news of the bridge guard dog had not spread far and wide, and asked her to promise not to do it again. When Canade wondered why her victims hadn't told her before, she thought they might have been disappointed after being defeated by a girl. When he told her to move to a suitable place to practice without making a fuss, she thought it was useless after losing to them and asked them to let her accompany them. Surprised by her unexpected decision, she told them that she thought hanging out with them would be excellent training for her. Then she clung to Reen and said she felt a crush on him, which made Canade jealous, so he had no choice but to accept Tanya as a member of their team, and Canade was forced to accept her presence. Tanya got excited about it and asked him to make a contract with her as he did with Canade, and while making the contract he couldn't believe that he did it with a cat spirit and a half-dragon in the same period of time, and after he finished making the contract with her, she became his second follower. Then she was surprised by the inscription of the covenant on her palm and realized that the feeling of connection to him that she now felt was what any tamed being would feel, while Reen felt that he had used up his entire life's luck by taming two of the most powerful beings on Earth. In the evening, Arios' team was returning to their headquarters, and the leader expressed his displeasure that they had failed to conquer the Forest of the Lost for a whole week, and the others told him that this was because they had encountered many difficulties while exploring the forest, from fighting monsters to taking on Reen's work. When Arios realizes that there is no way they can succeed in their mission, he decides to take Reen back and use his kindness to apologize to him so that they can explore the forest and then abandon him again. A few days later, Tanya went on her first mission with Reen and Canade, which was to exterminate the slime monsters hiding in the grass in the forest, and she succeeded in eliminating a large number of them with her power, but at the same time she burned some of the grass. Canade, on the other hand, was disgusted with the slimes because of the wife she leaves behind, so she found that the best solution was to rely on Tanya's long-range flames to get rid of them, and Reen was relieved by their harmony. Then they went deeper into the forest and wondered about the sudden disappearance of the slimes, so Reen resorted to taming a bird to check the situation from above, but this time he sneaked inside the bird's body himself, causing it to lose consciousness. The girls panicked when they found him talking to them through the bird. He told them it was a skill of a tamer and flew away to look for slime monsters from a better vantage point. After a while, Reen returned to his body after finding the slime gathering place and headed there with his companions. Before they started to exterminate them, Tanya asked him if he could cast magic spells, and he told her that he could use rudimentary things like healing and a fireball. She asks him to try attacking the slimes with his fireballs. He hesitantly says that his balls are not as powerful as she thinks, so she pushes him towards the monsters to encourage him to use his abilities. He closes his eyes and starts to visualize the shape of magic circles, then fires a fireball that causes a loud explosion. Reen succeeded in wiping out all the slimes in the place, and Canade and Tanya told them that thanks to the contract he made with each of them, he gained some of their special abilities, and that the magical power of half-dragons is the second most powerful among all the breeds. When the slimes returned in larger quantities, Tanya saw it as an opportunity to use them to train Reen to adapt to his new abilities, and encouraged him to do his best as their master, and he realized he didn't have to look ridiculous in front of the two most powerful girls on Earth. He had the confidence to ask Tanya to teach him how to use magic, and when he started attacking slimes, she became a stern teacher, yelling at him when he made even the slightest mistake, and although he felt it was cruel to use weak monsters for training, he was able to control his magic better thanks to them. In the evening, they returned to the guild to deliver their report and collect their reward. With a large sum of money, they were able to shop and eat fancy food, and over time, the townspeople began to accept Tanya as a slightly strange girl who likes to dress up as a dragon. Then Reen noticed that both girls had huge stomachs that could hold huge amounts of food, while he could only finish one plate of his portion. Then Tanya asked him where he learned to tame monsters, and he felt confused and hesitated to tell them that story. He began to tell them about his past, that he learned to tame monsters in the village where he grew up, a village full of monster tamers like him, including his parents who taught him this skill, and he doesn't remember doing anything in this village other than learning to tame monsters. And it was a good place, even though it was a small village before it disappeared. They were surprised that his story was so sad and tragic, and told him he didn't have to tell them if it was so tragic. Understanding that they wanted to know more about their best friend, he told them that the village collapse happened when he was 12 years old and his parents were too busy that day to watch him while he practiced dressage. So he spent his time in the forest practicing dressage by himself and continued like that until nightfall, when he suddenly saw a huge fire a few meters behind him and ran back to the village again. When he arrived, he was shocked to find that the village had collapsed to the ground after being overrun by monsters, and he was the only survivor. He ended up in the care of a group of adventurers and lived in an inn owned by one of their friends. He was forced to work at a young age to earn a living and devoted all his efforts just to survive, and it has been like that ever since. 6 months ago, he met Arios and his buddies who invited him to join their band. According to him, he was looking for friends to share his journey, so he agreed without hesitation, thinking that being part of a team would make a difference in his life and prevent a disaster like the one that happened in his village. But he ended up being treated like a slave and assigned all the important routine tasks due to his lack of power and lack of strength, as he was treated harshly and did not feel one day that they were his family. And then he realized that Arios only wanted to exploit him. After he finished telling his story, he apologized to them for his darkness and felt that he had become pathetic in their eyes. So Canade took his hand and told him that she realized why he always rushes to face danger without thinking about the consequences in order to help others. He does not want anyone to suffer the same sadness that he has lived with his whole life, and this does not make him a pathetic person. Tanya put her hand on top of them and shyly told him that he was kind, shy, and too honest, which made him feel bad, but that she was proud to have a master like him and that these were his true feelings, and he felt grateful to them for making his difficult time a source of pride. Tanya suddenly yells at him, expressing her indignation about his former band who called him useless despite his help, and Canade agrees, telling him that she's sure they're suffering now without him. Reen is embarrassed and tells them he's already moved on, and the three of them spend their time laughing and chatting together, and Reen loves having the three of them together all the time. The next day, they were tasked with taking out the orcs, and they succeeded in crushing them effortlessly thanks to their combined strengths. Reen advised them not to relax their defenses even if they were guaranteed to win, but Tanya still held on to her overconfidence and was willing to take on more. They continued to eliminate the orcs and collect their magical stones until Tanya noticed one of them lying on the ground. When she approached him quietly and started to use her flames, he grabbed her foot and held on until he forced her to fall, but she was able to burn him as soon as he got close to her. Before she could catch her breath, another monster tried to surprise her from behind. The others helped her get rid of it, but Reen was only slightly injured when he blocked the attack and used his enhanced healing magic to heal himself. Tanya felt guilty that she had hurt him, but he told her that he was completely fine as if nothing had happened. Then they collected the magic stones and returned to the guild. When Reen came out, he was surprised to find Canade waiting for him outside alone, and she told him that Tanya seemed disappointed before she left to sit alone somewhere. In the meantime, Tanya was feeling sad and regretful that she was so full of herself at Reen's expense. She was then interrupted by a child who wanted to know what kind of monsters they had encountered today, and she desperately told her that she hadn't defeated anything. When the child sensed that something was wrong with her, she asked her to confide in her. She didn't want to upset her and pretended to be fine. As she left, she began to chastise herself for not paying attention to Reen's concern for her and was eager to show her strength in fighting the orcs, which caused him to get hurt. She apologized to him for what happened in the morning and that she hadn't listened to his warning, thinking that if things had turned out worse, he would have been hurt or killed. He patted her on the head and told her that he wasn't angry with her because he trusted her to be careful next time. He then told her that Canade was worried about her, and when she rushed to hug her, she felt grateful to them as if they were her family. In the evening, Reen was embarrassed that he would have to stay in the same room with the two girls because there were no other rooms available at the inn. At night, he ended up sleeping on the floor, leaving the beds for the girls, and Tanya kept thinking about him, that he didn't get angry with her despite what she did, and all he cared about was that she was okay, and that he let them use the beds, which assured her that he was a very kind person. And soon she was surprised that she started to have feelings for him, as if she had fallen in love with him, and then quickly shook those thoughts out of her head. As time goes on, they finish their missions faster thanks to their chemistry, and Tanya suggests Reen buy new tools to enhance his strength as a human. On their way back to town, Reen is surprised to find Arios and his companions waiting to welcome him. When Reen sees his former band standing in front of him, he is surprised for a moment, then decides to ignore them and take a different route. But Arios tells him that they feel sorry for what they did to him in the past and want to apologize to him. When he stood silent, Tanya replied on his behalf, and Arios was shocked that he was accompanied by the soul of a cat and half a dragon. When he wondered what they were doing here, Canade told him that they were Reen's friends, and he thought that he had dedicated his life to serving them because he was talentless, but they were all shocked to learn that he was their master. Reen asks him if he's come to make an offer, and he says that his team is having a hard time exploring the Forest of the Lost because the path inside changes over time and turns into a maze, and they ended up quitting after a week, and he wants him to help his team complete the mission. Reen was furious that he could help them by taming monsters to guide them in collecting materials, and they all humiliated and belittled him. Arios told him that he would have the honor of contributing to one of his team's missions. The others told him that he should be grateful that someone as pathetic as him would get another chance to work with them, and when they thought he would easily agree, they were surprised when he refused without hesitation and told them to go look for someone else. As he starts to leave, Mina tells him that what their group is doing is necessary to save the world because the Forest of the Lost contains one of the noble relics needed to defeat the Demon King, the Gear of Truth, and if they can't get it, they can't defeat him and monsters will invade the world. Reen is surprised by the fact that there is an artifact that can help defeat the Demon King, and when he imagines the monsters invading the entire world, he remembers the tragedy that his village suffered after its disappearance. At the same time, he cannot allow himself to cooperate with people who despised him in the past and treated him as scum, so he becomes confused before deciding to agree. Arios and Lean's reaction to his approval was very arrogant, which infuriated Canade and Tanya, so Canade asked him before he left to apologize to Rien properly, and Arios told her that he had already apologized at the beginning of the conversation, but she knew very well that it was not a true apology. Tanya told them that they should ask for his help in a proper manner, especially after they had kicked him out of their band earlier and forced them to kneel before him. She said that she would have preferred to turn them into ashes with a whiff of flame, but she knew that her master would be angry. Arios was furious and told her not to expect him to do that, because after all, he was a hero and would never kneel before a loser like Rien, and they had done nothing wrong to warrant it. Then he approached him and grabbed his collar to tell him that he was a lax master and should control his animal followers. Arios told Rien that just because they're human-like doesn't make them human, and accused him of keeping them as animals and not as friends, and before he could finish his sentence, Rien threw a thunderous punch at him, shutting his mouth in front of everyone. Arios couldn't believe that he had just been beaten by a pathetic monster tamer. He told him that he would do it again and again if he continued to mock his comrades and threatened to make him regret it. Arios decided to challenge him and his team to a fight against his team to settle things once and for all. Canade prepares to duel Agath while Tanya takes care of Mina and Lean. Arios is eager to teach Rien a lesson, and Agath is excited to use his sword fighting skills against Canade. Canade vows to beat him up and force him to apologize to Rien. He tells her that they have no reason to apologize to him, and their team doesn't need weaklings anyway, so Canade attacks him using her lightning speed. Agath tried his best to block her overpowered attacks using his sword as a shield, but was unable to do anything else due to her speed, and then found her trying to provoke him by saying that his team wasn't strong enough to keep up with them in a fight. Agath was furious and decided to abandon the defense and swung his sword at her, then used his secret technique and tried to crush her with his Hell Strike, but he was shocked to find that she easily blocked it. Canade backed off and started laughing at his ludicrous technique and that she was disappointed in him. Agath decided to fight with the intention of getting rid of her and giving up Rien's help to his team. She got excited when he decided to show her everything he had and decided to unleash half of her strength to avoid his death and asked him not to take it personally. Agath was shocked that even with all that striking power, she wasn't even using half of her power, and his hand began to tremble in terror, realizing that there was no way he could win at this rate, and began to wonder why someone so powerful was serving such a pathetic Rien. Canade, rushing towards him, replied that Rien was much stronger than them, and then delivered a crushing kick that shattered his face and caused the tree he hit to be cut down, embarrassed that she had overused her power a bit. Meanwhile, Tanya thought if she could take on Arios, she'd rather give Rien the glory for kicking his ass. Lean, irritated by her mockery of her leader, told them that she thought they were just two opponents within her reach. Lean vowed to make her regret it and began to use her magic spells combined with Mina's power, and when they attacked, they were stunned after Tanya hid their spells with just the snap of a finger. Seeing the looks on their faces, Tanya burst out laughing as the two girls decided to try again. When they made another double attack, they found their spells disappearing into nothingness before they could reach her. When they asked why, she told them that she uses the physical cancellation technique, which analyzes the magic spell and hits it with an appropriate magic wave to cancel it out. Then she added that their spells will not work against her, no matter how powerful they are. Lean was furious that a lizard like her disrespects humans and continued to attack her again, but the result was the same for Tanya, who began to feel the absurdity of their spells and told them that they are nothing compared to Rien's power to tame monsters and that he may succeed in taming a god one day. The witches ignored her words and continued to cast spells on her, but soon they submitted to her. Then Tanya told them that she was not a fan of crushing the weak, especially now that they had surrendered before her, but she would not let them get away with what they had done to Rien, so she decided to show them the true meaning of magic. And then they found that the clouds blocked the sunlight and the sky suddenly turned crimson in color. Then a group of magic circles began to form directly above them. Tanya told them that it was a technique known as the Great Ending. When the heads started falling towards them, they realized that there was no way to escape death and started begging for their lives. Tanya backed away from the idea of getting rid of them and told them that she was only joking, which made them fall to the ground in a panic. On the other side, Arios scolds Rien for choosing to confront him and for rejecting his offer to use a useless monster tamer like him. Before he can finish his rant, Rien shuts his mouth with a loud punch, and Arios is furious and pulls out his sword in his face. Rien was surprised at how fast he was, and that he was able to change the curve of his sword with each attack to force him backwards, and he realized that he was as good as a champion with the sword. Then Arios told him that he would not be able to touch it if he continued to run away after tearing his clothes. Rien wondered to himself why he didn't feel despair when he was facing Tanya, but now he felt it against an opponent like Arios who was not up to her level. When Arios tried to plunge his sword into his body. He was surprised that he blocked the attack. Then Reen grabbed his arm and gave him a powerful punch that forced him to retreat. Arios wondered how someone like him could get so much power. Then Reen surprised him by rushing at him and not giving him a chance to rest, but he managed to avoid him, shocked at his development as if he was someone other than the Reen he knew. Reen replied that this is the real monster tamer's power, which he had always mocked before, and that he gained his powers through contracts with his minions, and the reason he can't touch him is that he knows all his movements by watching him fight when he was a member of his squad. Arios was furious and tried to surprise him with a blow, but ended up tearing his ribs after receiving a crushing kick from Reen, who asked him to admit defeat because he couldn't win an honorable fight. He smiled a sly smile before he surprised him with a magical attack and told him that he still had the hero's magic and vowed to turn him into ashes and put him in his proper place. Reen then decided to use fire magic backed by Tanya's power and was able to cancel his lightning spell. Arios tells him that his cheap tricks won't give him the advantage and then uses a variety of different spells to force him into submission, while Reen has no choice but to respond with fire magic and thinks he'll have a hard time stopping him with just 2 spells. When Arios rushed towards him to finish him off, he was surprised when his body went numb without warning and fell to the ground. Reen approached him and told him that he could tame insects, so he used a special kind of bee that could immobilize him with a sting while attacking him. Then he forces him to admit that he was wrong to judge monster tamers as useless and admit the loss. Then he confesses that he is still angry about making fun of his friends. Arios starts to flatter him in his cheap style and tries to convince him that they were friends in the past, but when Reen remembers their cruel treatment of him, he decides to take revenge on him and hits him with a deadly blow. Arios ends up unconscious after Reen deliberately misses him and tells him that he will let him live this time, and he feels more comfortable after he subdues him and then reunites with his friends again after the 3 of them succeeded in defeating the arrogant band. Reen and his companions decide to go to the Forest of the Lost to explore it and find that it is a place full of gloom as it is dark even in the middle of the day, and Tanya thinks of burning the whole place because she doesn't like it, but Reen tells her that this forest is an inhabited ecosystem and they can't do that, and they came to get the truth gear tool that only a hero can carry. Reen checks the map of the forest that he stole from the Arios and thinks that it will be useless due to the constant growth of the forest and the changing shape of the roads. However, they have to help the Arios after being forced to apologize to them and get the artifact. According to what Arios told them, the Shield of Truth is in the possession of the monsters that reside deep in the forest and must be obtained as soon as possible because the fate of the world is at stake. While Reen was thinking of a plan, he found the girls objecting to his agreement to help the clumsy Arios and his companions, and Tanya told him that she could defeat the Demon King alone. He patted them on the head and expressed his happiness that they cared about him. He told them that they needed Arios right now because he was the only one who could defeat the Demon King and apologized to them for bringing them into it too much. Reen enlisted the help of a small bird to merge into his body as he had done earlier and flew upwards while they took care of his body. When he started flying in the sky, he discovered that the forest was very vast, and although he couldn't see the path due to the density of the trees, he could feel it in his mind, and after a few minutes he returned back to his body and told them that he had found the right path to the device. After walking for a long time, they came across a special stone that they placed beside the road to mark the way back and realized that all this time they had been circling the same area. Canade asked him if he had made a mistake in marking the right path, and he told her that he had shared the information he had gathered with the other birds upstairs, minimizing the possibility of error, and guessed that there was something wrong with this forest that made it difficult to penetrate it. Tanya decided to use her powers to investigate the matter and began to locate the right path through a magical circle she created below them, and within minutes they reached a tree that emitted bright lights, and Tanya realized that this tree was the reason they were lost and told them that it emitted a delusional magic that made them forced to walk in circles without entering new places. Reen asks Canade if they can remove the magic without cutting down the tree, and Tanya tells him that it will take more time. As Canade starts to destroy the tree, an unknown voice tells her to leave this place. The voice kept repeating the same phrase until its owner appeared, who turned out to be a blonde fairy. Reen was surprised that the person responsible for the magic power in the tree was one of the most powerful breeds on Earth, like Canade and Tanya, and remembered that fairies have a grudge against humans as their enemies. Reen tried to talk to the fairy peacefully, but she kept telling them to get out of here and threatened to remove them herself if they didn't leave immediately, so they fled out of the forest before they were killed. Canade marveled at her violent behavior towards them, as fairies are supposed to be gentle and friendly creatures, while Reen marveled at her daring to reveal herself to them in his presence, and then guessed that she had to do so when they posed a threat to her barrier, and then began to wonder if the fairy preferred to cooperate with the monsters rather than allow humans to enter her forest. Tanya was still adamant about trying to break down the barrier and decided to take care of her spells while they destroyed the tree. Reen decided to try talking again, but the girls told him that it wasn't safe and that the fairy was clearly refusing to compromise, so he told them that if they could approach her without showing hostility, they would be fine. Then he went back to the fairy and tried to convince her that they were not her enemies and had not come to spoil the forest, and when she started to attack him, he told her that he would not mind being hurt if it would help him gain her trust. She used her magic to attack him, and when the two girls girls wanted to approach him, he signaled to them that he would be fine, as he had no intention of giving up in front of her since he is a tamer of monsters and has been in many difficult situations in which he was unable to communicate with words, but instead succeeded in communicating his feelings to the other party. The fairy aimed the arrows of illusion at him and was surprised that he chose to stand and take damage instead of fleeing or avoiding her to prove to her that he had not come to fight with her, so she wondered if this person belonged to the humans who had stolen and polluted her land in the past. He told her that he was human, but not all humans are that bad, and asked her to trust him a little, but she refused to be fooled by his words, and when she attacked him again, Tanya pulled him back and stood in front of her arrows, and the fairy neutralized her arrows before they reached them. Canade tells her that Reen is not a bad person, that he saved her when she was in trouble and helped many people in the city. Tanya then says that he opposed the destruction of the forest in the first place when she wanted to burn the place down. The fairy realizes that Reen is a strange person for having a half-cat, half-dragon companion. Curious about him, she approaches him to ask his name, then introduces herself as Sora and decides to listen to what he has to say. When he told her about his mission to find the Gear of Truth and that it was her barrier that hindered their mission, she said that she had erected the barrier and could not remove it because it separated the forest from the fairy village and refused to expose her kind to the danger of mixing with humans. When Tanya accuses her of covering up for the monster with the truth shield, she tells her that there are no monsters in the forest and that the fairies are protecting the shield, and they realize that someone gave Arios the wrong information. They found that Sora didn't mind giving them the gear if it was necessary to get rid of the Demon King. Then she disappeared for a few seconds and returned again with the gear, telling them that her hatred for monsters was greater than her hatred for humans. The three of them were relieved that things had gone so smoothly and wondered if they could do anything to thank her, but she told them that the inheritance of the Shield of Truth was an ancient pact created between the fairies and the former hero, and that her role was to keep that pact, so she didn't deserve any gratitude. As they left, she wished they could stay longer, but Reen realized that something was wrong with her and returned to ask her if there was anything troubling her, and that he was willing to hear her out as a small token of appreciation for her help. She was about to spill her guts, but then she hesitated, thinking that he might want to help her and his friends would get hurt because of her. He told her that he wouldn't mind helping her if it was serious. Then Tanya joined them and told her that he was too nice and wouldn't take no for an answer like no. After everyone urged her that she could trust them and ask for help, she felt it was okay to tell them, and told them that she had a younger sister named Runa, whose personality was the opposite of hers, yet they were very close, and that she helped her maintain the forest barrier to prevent anyone from attacking their village. One day, they had to leave the barrier for a while for certain reasons when they encountered a monster working for the Demon King. They tried to avoid fighting it, but ended up being forced to fight it, and the monster defeated them and took Runa hostage. Rian marveled that there is a monster that even fairies can't beat. When I told him that this monster is the Shadow Knight, he realized that it is a C-rank monster that can't defeat any of the stronger breeds, but what distinguishes it is that it can nullify all magical abilities, which is why the sisters lost to it. Sora said that the Shadow Knight's goal from the beginning was to get rid of anything that might get in his way, and he conditioned her to remove the forest barrier in exchange for giving her Runa, but she refused to endanger the others, and when she begged the village chief to help her save her sister, he blamed them for leaving the barrier behind. Although she understands the leader's point of view of prioritizing the lives of everyone behind the barrier, she cannot simply abandon her sister, and when she starts crying, Reen wipes her tears and tells her to relax and promises that they will defeat the Shadow Knight together and get her sister back without jeopardizing the fairy village. She feels grateful to him and continues to cry in his arms. Sora tells them that the Shadow Knight ordered her to remove the barrier before sunset today, and then pointed the way to his whereabouts. Reen decides to go with his companions to confront him and tells her to stay here so he doesn't realize she broke their agreement. When they get there, they find him sitting on his throne with Runa hanging on top. While Reen was distracted by a useless fireball, Canade jumped towards him and delivered a thunderous kick. Then Reen approached and managed to inflict some minor damage, but not enough to bring him down. The Shadow Knight marveled at his strength and wondered if he was the current champion of this world. Reen felt insulted and was surprised that an ordinary person had come to challenge a knight of the Demon King's army, then realized that Sora had sent them after him to save Runa. He decides to punish Sora for her betrayal of their covenant and aims his sword at Runa, but Tanya intercepts him just in time to free her and take her in her arms. As she flees, he focuses his attention on her, giving Reen and Canade the advantage to beat him up. He told them not to underestimate him and swung his sword at them all at once. Reen realized how powerful he was and why he was confident he could conquer the fairy village alone. He and Canade rushed to hide from the tornado he had caused, and when they realized the forest would be damaged by his attacks, Reen made a backup plan and told her to take care of him while he tried to distract her. He then went so far as to use his ability to search for any nearby animals through his consciousness until he found a hive of bees. He tamed them and ordered them to attack the Shadow Knight, and then returned and told Canade to start attacking him while he was busy with the bees. Then he used his ability to command her to unleash her full power, and Canade was surprised when she felt the tremendous force sweep through her body, rushing towards the Shadow Knight and punching a hole in the center of his body from the force of its power, and then his body began to disintegrate until it was completely gone. After they succeeded in defeating him, Canade asked him what he he had just done to feel so powerful, and he told her that he used a unique tamer spell that temporarily enhanced her natural abilities and was able to use this spell thanks to the magical power that Tanya had given him. Tanya joined them and wondered how he was able to learn a lost spell like augmentation. He confusedly told her that he learned it back home. When Canade started dancing to celebrate their victory, Runa regained consciousness, and when they told her that Sora was the one who asked them to save her, she felt happy and safe. When they returned to Sora, Runa rushed into her arms, not believing that they were together again. Sora approached them and expressed her gratitude for bringing her sister back, and as they began to argue with each other, Rien realized that they only looked alike. Canade tells them that they can now live together in peace. The sisters are confused, and Sora tells her that she intends to leave with her, unable to forgive the chief and the fairy villagers for their decision to leave Runa to her fate. Rien warned them not to wander through the forest alone because it was full of dangerous monsters like the Shadow Knight, and Runa thought that they had no idea what awaited them outside since they had been isolated for so long in the village. Canade suggested that they accompany them, while Tanya preferred to leave the decision to their leader, so Rien asked if they wouldn't mind joining a team with a human. Sora told him that she doesn't trust other humans, but she feels that he is trustworthy and doesn't mind being around him, and Runa agreed with her. Rien agrees to include them in his team and is surprised when they ask him to make a contract with them like he did with Canade and Tanya. He can't believe he's about to tame fairies and remembers that he doesn't know their spell to tame them, and it will be like solving a puzzle. Then the two girls encouraged him to try and not to give up before he tried, so he realized there was no harm in trying. He used his power to create his magic circle and thought that he had to concentrate on casting the right spell so that the contract wouldn't fail. He sat thinking about the magic formula to use on the sisters until he came up with a suitable solution and began his contract ritual and succeeded in creating a new bond with them to join Canade and Tanya. After completing the contract with them, he began to feel weak and almost fell from exhaustion, but the sisters caught him and helped him stand up, so he told them it was just a simple dizziness, while Tanya and Canade began to burn with jealousy. Rien then goes to meet Arios' group and gives them the Shield of Truth while the girls watch him from afar. When he gives them the shield, they are shocked that he managed to get it from deep in the forest and came out alive in 2 days while they failed for a whole week. Arios accuses him of being a fake somehow. He tells them they can test it. They put it on the table, and Mina realizes through her ability that it's the real gear, which makes the others feel angry. Arios then turns around and is surprised to see the sisters. Rien felt annoyed that he had discovered the presence of his comrades, as he did not want information about the presence of fairies in a human settlement to leak out, and he received his reward from Arios and left feeling satisfied that he would never have to work with them again. As he was leaving, he was surprised when Agath asked him if he wanted to return to the team, and Arios shouted at him not to speak without permission, so he told him that this was his idea and that he should think about what the team is going through lately and that they really need his help and the evidence that he succeeded in carrying out the task they could not, and the rest agreed with him, while Arios remained silent. When he asked Rien for his opinion and promised him a good salary and better treatment if he returned, he felt angry at his offer to return as if nothing had happened, especially after he told him not to let the past influence his decision. Canade's voice interrupted Rien's thoughts, and when he saw the 4 girls staring at him and inviting him to leave, he decided to refuse his request. Agath tried to convince him that he would get fame, money, and social status when he defeated the Demon King with them. He coldly told him that he didn't need any of that because what he wanted for so long hadn't changed, and he felt he had already gotten what he wanted now that he had so many friends who cared about him and had become like a family. After he left, Rien was furious and kept complaining about how he kept rejecting them despite the many offers and temptations, while Mina thought that he was just an ordinary person who didn't care about the importance of defeating the Demon King and that asking him back was a waste of time. All Arios could think about was that he still felt the pain, humiliation, and hatred he had felt while fighting him, and he was sure that these negative feelings would not go away quickly since he had been defeated by scum like him and vowed to wipe him out when the opportunity arose. The sisters wondered if only a hero could defeat the Demon King as rumored, and Rien told them that according to the legends, the Demon King used his vast powers to control people, so no one could stand up to him. Then the first hero made a pact with the gods to defeat him, mixing their blood with his own, and succeeded in defeating the Demon King after gaining the power of the gods and spreading peace in the world. Tanya felt that the first hero was a good man, unlike the current arrogant one. Rien said that the most important thing that characterizes a hero is the blood of the gods that flows through his veins, as there are people who, no matter how much they train, will never become strong enough to defeat the Demon King, unlike him, who continues to grow and strengthen his strength thanks to the blood of the gods that strengthens him. When Canade thought that this hero seemed so weak when they faced him, he told her that he would eventually become the undisputed strongest, and Sora wondered if he wasn't a hero himself because he had gained enhanced powers by making contracts with them and had become beyond the limits of any normal human strength. Canade came up with the idea that they could help Rien make contracts with more powerful bloodlines until he reaches a superhuman level of power to overthrow the Demon King, but Rien felt it was too much. Tanya thought it was worthwhile, and everyone agreed that he was better than an arrogant hero. The idea began to shine in his head, and he remembered that this was the goal of his old team, and he felt free when he was fired tired and now he was enjoying his time with the girls, so he told them that he would do it if he could, but he warned them that defeating the Demon King would be a different task than all their other tasks because the whole world would depend on them and he was not mentally prepared for it. He then apologized for not being able to make such a hasty decision because he only reached his current level thanks to their support, but he will try to think about it to find an answer to all his questions. The girls told him that they will wait for his decision and that whatever it is, it will not change the fact that they love to stay with him. The next day, the girls suggest that Reen get some new gear so that he can utilize the powers he gained through them, and he thinks it's a good idea, especially since he has enough money. On the way to the blacksmith shop, the sisters clung to him because they were afraid of the humans wandering around in the streets since they had been isolated for so long from any other races, but he told them that it was safe now and not all humans were bad. Then, to their surprise, two people appeared behind them and addressed Tanya, who turned out to be the adventurers she had kicked their on the bridge the other day. They told her that they had come to show their respect for her after realizing that she belonged to one of the more powerful races. Sora and Runa, seeing how well Tanya and Canade were fitting in, were surprised when a group of children came up to them and expressed their admiration for Reen's having more marriages. One of them asks if the sisters are flower spirits. Sora feels shy and barely answers her questions, while Runa almost exposes them because of her spontaneity in talking to others and her use of magic, but Reen silences her in time. After that, they arrived at the blacksmith shop, and when they entered, the sisters were surprised that the owner was a dwarf, while Reen realized that this is why everyone called him the best in the city, and he kept inspecting the weapons he had until he liked a dagger. Tanya objected to his choice and told him that he should choose more powerful weapons, and when he took the dagger out of its sheath, he felt something strange about it, and then they found a customer entering the store to buy the finest swords. The dwarf gave him a weapon that looked great outwardly, and the customer liked it, who paid an amount of money for it and then left happily, while Reen was upset that he sold a weapon of poor quality, and when he talked to him and said that he realized that all the weapons in the store looked good in appearance, but their use in battle is poor, the dwarf was surprised that he has a keen eye and expressed his admiration for his intelligence. Then he told him that all the weapons in the store were made in his spare time, and there is nothing special about them except for a fairly good edge and tolerance, and he charges only what covers the cost of manufacturing them. Then he showed them a corner with unique real weapons and told them that these are the weapons to which he devotes his heart and expertise. Reen realized at first glance that it was on a different level, and when asked why he gave a normal weapon to the customer, he replied that this was a test of his enthusiasm, as most people make money and come to demand a good weapon without regard to their individual skills and inclinations, and his special weapons end up on the streets when they find better models. Tanya told him that she understood how he felt, and that elite weapons need an elite person to utilize their power, and the rest of them found that they got along with each other after finding a common denominator. The dwarf was curious about how Reen was able to recognize the weapons and told him that he was a monster tamer, and because of his profession he had developed a subconscious habit of observing everything around him. The dwarf was impressed by Reen's personality and skill, and decided that he should make a customized weapon for him. To the delight of his companions, he told them that there was one issue that would hinder his work. He didn't have the necessary materials, so they ended up leaving empty-handed and went to the guild, and when they arrived, they were surprised to find it packed with adventurers. Natalie tells them that the reason the adventurers are unusually excited is because the hero Arios has announced that he is recruiting new members for his team, and everyone wants to join him to gain fame and money from being on the team that will defeat the Demon King. When Canade and Tanya noticed the look of disappointment in his eyes, he patted them on the head and told them that he was fine now, then gave Natalie an official request from the dwarf to assign him the task of searching for mithril ore, as he was supposed to have an ancestral mine full of mithril, but suddenly he couldn't find a single atom in it. Reen realized that something was wrong with his mine, and he asked him to let him investigate his mine, and when the dwarf asked him what he wanted for his mine, he told him that he only wanted to have a weapon of his own making, and he felt grateful to him because he preferred to have a weapon of his own making over money. Reen and his companions then headed towards the dwarf's mine. On their way, he noticed that the sisters were already suffering from walking all this distance, and they apologized to him for their lack of fitness despite their large amount of magic. He then noticed a nearby lake by the side of the road and suggested that they take a break before continuing their journey. The girls began to enjoy their time swimming while Reen went to relax near the lake and used his power to tame 2 squirrels to observe the area around the lake before resting under a shady tree. Meanwhile, the girls were swimming in the lake and the sisters were surprised to find that Canade and Tanya had larger breasts than they did, causing them to get frustrated. Runa asked for their help in showing her how to make her breasts the same size as theirs. They told her that she will become like them over time when she grows up and completes her growth, which made her even more angry, thinking that they were deliberately making fun of her. Then Canade suddenly screamed and reached Reen, who was surprised that he did not receive any alarming behavior from the animals. However, he rushed to the lake to find out what was going on and found the girls naked in the lake, while Canade was bitten in the tail by a fish. He blushed and turned himself around automatically, and then apologized to them that he didn't mean to see anything. Tanya told him to act as if nothing had happened, as it was a embarrassing to see them like that, but he came as soon as he heard Canade's screams, indicating that he didn't mean to. Reen was surprised that they quickly overlooked it in order to keep the atmosphere between them as a team, and when they offered him to take a break by swimming in the lake, he refused, preferring to continue the journey to the mine. When they arrived, Reen sat for a while watching the entrance because he suspected that the most likely reason for the disappearance of the mithril was that there might be thieves inside, and he confirmed this when he noticed the way a bird flew over them. Then two of the thieves came out to check the outside. He asked Canade and Tanya to fight them without using excessive violence because he wanted to ask them some questions, but they ended up knocking them unconscious, and he resigned himself to the idea that he couldn't get any information from them. The sisters approach him and offer to use their powers to access the thieves' memories and find out what he wants, and when they do, they find that the thieves have seized a huge amount of mithril inside the mine and are able to find out the full number of thieves. Reen confirms that his guess is correct and that the thieves are just a group of adventurers. He then tells them that they will head inside the mine now and warns them that the thieves may already know they are out there after noticing the strange way the bird flew over them, and tells them that there may be a monster tamer like him among them. On the other hand, the thieves learn that their comrades have been overthrown by the power of their monster tamer and decide to crush the intruders. When Reen and his comrades head inside, they are surprised to see a huge fireball heading towards them, which the sisters block with their magic. Then they decided to show off their skills in front of Reen and managed to catch the spellcasters and cancel their next attack, while Canade and Tanya took care of the archers in the back, leaving only the monster tamer, who was approached by Reen and told him that he works for the dwarf Gantz. When he told him to surrender, the thief was furious and lunged at him, but he soon ended up on the ground. Reen again told him to surrender without resistance, but he refused and vowed to make the old dwarf regret what he had done. Then he used his power to summon a giant monster from the depths of the mine, and Reen realized that he had used many times his normal level of magical power to tame it. Then the thief told him that he found this monster when he was young and raised it, so the monster has no animosity against him and does not need to use magic to tame it. Reen gave Canade a meaningful look, and she realized that he wanted her to take everyone and leave the mine before it collapsed on top of them, and Reen stood alone against the monster. After the girls and the thieves left the mine, Tanya said she would keep an eye on them, knowing that Canade wanted to get back together with Reen. Meanwhile, Reen struggled against the monster until Canade saved him just in time. He asks her to capture the tamer while he takes care of his own monster, and thinks to take advantage of his obedience to the thief by forcing him to ask him to stop attacking him. The thief then tells them that he has to get rid of them so that no one knows about him and his companions stealing the mine. The monster continues to attack Reen, who is used to the way he moves and prefers to dodge him in order to buy time for Canade to catch the thief, and when he realizes that the mine will not last long due to his powerful attacks, he uses his abilities to force him to stop for a while. Although Canade succeeded in catching the thief, he refused his monster's order to stop, which made him continue to attack Reen and cause the mine to collapse even more, and then he began to think of a way to stop him, but he doubted whether he could do it. Then he remembered the encouragement of his comrades, and that he realized that his abilities are not ordinary thanks to them, and decided to trust his strength, and stood in front of the monster, and when he used his ability on him, the thief was shocked that the monster stopped and did not finish him, and found that the contract between them was destroyed after Reen made a new contract with him. Then Reen told him that he had tamed it and adopted it for himself. The thief was shocked that he was able to erase his control over the monster so easily, although it is difficult to steal control of a monster from another tamer, so the thief was furious and refused to believe that there is a better monster tamer than him. Then he shouted at the monster to move according to his orders and continued to provoke him until the monster rushed towards him personally. So Reen decided to intervene to stop the disaster and attack the monster with a fireball from behind that caused a loud explosion, and after his death he got his magic stone and realized that monsters will still hold a grudge against humans no matter what they do. Reen and his companions succeeded in capturing the gang and obtaining the stolen mithril. After interrogating them, Reen learned that the common denominator was that they were all former customers of Gantz and had bought his weapons, but decided to take revenge after the other adventurers pointed out how weak they were so that he couldn't make weapons again. When Gantz found out, he felt sad because he had put his weapons on a pedestal and decided that a normal person was not worthy to carry them. He should have made all his weapons with passion and considered himself a failed craftsman for not being honest with his customers. Reen told him that everyone makes mistakes, but he could start over and dedicate his heart to making all his weapons since he had the skill and potential. Gantz couldn't believe that the day had come when a boy less than half his age would console him. From now on, he decides to be honest with his customers and his weapons, and to work harder than ever before. He starts making Reen's special weapon, and when he asks him what his favorite type is, he asks him to make a dagger and an armored gauntlet. Gantz wonders if that's all he wants. Reen approaches him and whispers an idea he's just had, then tells the girls it's time to take a break outside. On the other side, Arios and his team are having a hard time recruiting a new member. His reason for rejecting applicants was that they were all monster tamers and couldn't live up to Reen's level of taming or fighting, and they believed that it was impossible for a monster tamer to successfully tame one of the stronger breeds. Arios becomes frustrated at the idea that they won't find someone better than Reen, while Mina sees that he has rejected more than one person with the necessary qualifications to support them because of his obsession with Reen and comparing them to him, and she wonders when they will reach their goal and overcome the Demon King. She asks Arios if he doesn't think his criteria for selecting members is too strict, and when he accuses her of implying that his judgment is wrong, she chooses to put up with his temper since Reen's departure and tells him that his judgment is not wrong at all. Then he decided that they would have to stay in this city for a while longer, hoping to find new candidates soon. When he allowed her to leave to rest, she told him that he should also rest when the time comes because the fate of the world rests on his shoulders. Then Arios pulled a suspicious ring out of his drawer and decided that he must eliminate Reen before his battle with the Demon King. The next day, Reen went to the guild to ask what happened to the thieves he and his companions caught yesterday, and Natalie told him that they were stripped of their adventurer's license and sentenced to hard labor. When he left the guild, he told the sisters what he had learned from Natalie. They tried to comfort him and told him that he had made the right decision by killing the monster in the mine and recovering the mithril, so Reen felt confident and decided to walk around with them for a while. Reen and the sisters went to the market and kept looking at the goods available in the stores. On their way, the sisters smelled a delicious smell from a restaurant, and Reen told them it was hot dogs. When he explained how to cook them and they didn't understand, he brought them some and they sat down to eat under the shade of a tree. Sora and Runa liked the hot dog but were surprised that it was gone so quickly. He told them that they could have some next time with Tanya and Canade, and then it occurred to them to ask Reen if he felt any different, such as gaining new abilities after hiring them. He thought long and hard before saying that he didn't feel anything in frustrating them. Sora thought that he might have learned their spells after he contracted with them and got the most powerful magic. He wondered what the most powerful magic was. They told him that it was a type of magic better than advanced and epic magic that only fairies could use, but ended up in despair. Their eyes twinkled with excitement at the thought that he might have gained the ability to master it, but they ended up in despair after he told them that no new spells had come into his mind yet, and they began to feel useless to him. He patted them on the head and told them that he didn't judge his companions by their contracts and abilities, and that he wanted them to stay with him even if he didn't get anything new. They felt grateful and asked him why he believed in them after their villagers had abandoned them. He told them that he had sat and thought about why he didn't succeed with his previous band and realized that it wasn't just their fault, but that he was also responsible for not trusting himself and them. He remembered his first trip with them and that he was afraid that Arios would tell him that he wasn't needed, and that's why he had been trying all this time to be useful. He then went on to say that despite his efforts to be useful, he ended up getting kicked out and felt lonely whenever he remembered what he went through in that band, and thought that things might have been different if he had trusted them more. But now he had many friends that he wanted to stay with and was working hard to gain their trust more and more. The sisters felt grateful to him and became more confident that he wouldn't abandon them just because he wasn't gaining new abilities from his contract with them. When Runa got hungry again, Reen told them he was going to invite Tanya and Canade to have lunch with them, and on the way they were surprised by a voice from behind ordering them to stop. Then approached the sisters to ask for their identities without warning, and when they told him their names, he kept looking at them with his eyes and admired their beauty, and that they were twin sisters, and the three of them were shocked when he said that he wanted to own them immediately. The sisters are surprised that a stranger wants to possess them in their first meeting and think he's just an idiot, but the stranger is impressed by their ability to answer him and admires them even more. And when Reen asks him who he is, he tells him that his name is Edgar, the son of the town's governor. Edgar then told him that if the sisters gave themselves to him, they would have access to unparalleled luxury, but the sisters refused to give themselves to him and told him that they had a master, Reen, so he ordered his guards to arrest them, but Reen told him that he would not hand them over to someone as hateful as him. Edgar was shocked when his guards ended up lying on the ground after he beat them alone and wondered why they were able to defeat a single opponent. Some of them backed off and told him that he was no ordinary man. Then Reen advised him to surrender and leave because he would not let him have his companions. Edgar was furious before he smiled wickedly and told him that if he wanted something, he would get it. His guards put swords to the throats of the commoners around them and threatened to give him the girls before he made the commoners pay for his stubbornness. Reen marveled that he was willing to sacrifice his subjects just to take the two girls. He told him that they were just peasants and considered tools to him. Reen began to think of a way out of this sudden predicament, and they suggested that they intervene by using their magic to save everyone. Reen thought that if he let them use magic, they would be exposed and they would all have to leave the city, and he thought about how he could protect everyone without loss. Then he found that there were many magic circles appearing in his imagination, and he thought that there was something more to it than fireballs, and he would have to try something new now. Reen sets fire to all the guards around him and tells Edgar that he won't let him do what he wants, while the sisters are surprised that he has acquired the skill of casting a single spell multiple times at the same time, a skill that only fairies have. Reen then pointed his dagger at Edgar and ordered him to leave and never show his face again. He felt angry and vowed to make him regret his disobedience, and the rest of his guards followed him away. After their departure, the sisters thanked him for saving them. Then the people of the city gathered around him and expressed their gratitude to him for standing up to the governor's arrogant son, and that he seemed like a hero to them. Then they were surprised by a mysterious person telling the sisters that they should leave the town and go to another place, and in the meantime Arios was watching them from afar, planning to eliminate Reen as soon as possible. After that, Reen and the sisters sisters returned home, and Runa began to tell Canade and Tanya about what happened with great enthusiasm, while Reen did not realize that he had received a super skill from them until they told him, and he noticed that his accuracy in controlling magic was better than the last time he trained with Tanya. While Canade was furious at the governor's arrogant son and vowed to make him pay for what he had done, he told her that he was much more dangerous than he expected, according to what the townspeople had told them, as he kidnapped women who caught his eye and kept them locked up in his palace. They wondered why the knights didn't arrest him, and Runa said they didn't find a single clue about what he was doing to the women. Tanya thought about burning his mansion to the ground before he targets the sisters again, especially after Reen confronted him, while Reen thought he had to protect the townspeople and save them from injustice, even though he's not a hero. Canade said that she knew he was asking himself if they should leave the city after what happened, and told him that he couldn't help the city like that. When he marveled at her ability to know what he was thinking, Tanya told him that they had come to know his thoughts because they had stayed with him for a long time, and that he wanted to save everyone and thought he had to choose between them and the townspeople. The sisters advise him not to overburden himself, and then they all tell him that they want to protect the city and live safely with everyone, so he trusts them and decides that they must find a suitable solution to save the city. In the evening, Edgar ordered his bodyguard Gellet to look for Reen and bring him to the palace if possible. He gave him some money and promised to give him more upon completion of his mission, and vowed to make him regret his insult in the morning. He then used the bell to summon one of his hostages, and when a girl with 3 tails entered, he grabbed her ear and threw her to the ground for being late and continued to kick and humiliate her to make her scream. The next day, Reen went with Canade to the knight's headquarters. When he met the receptionist, he asked if they would start investigating something when he filed a complaint, and she told him that the organization was established to enforce order in the city. He told her that he wanted to report that Edgar had assaulted him and his friends yesterday at the market. He was interrupted by the voice of one of the knights in the back telling him that he didn't need to file a complaint because it was a minor fight as far as he knew, and they shouldn't be investigating such trivialities. Canade was furious that he called it trivial and tried to tell him what had happened, but Reen stopped her. Then the knight added that investigating the son of the governor of the city without evidence could lead to their execution for treason. Reen had no choice but to leave and turn back. After they left, he told Canade that he realized that the knights were conspiring with the governor in some way to cover up his crimes. As they walked, Canade sensed someone nearby, and then a blonde knight appeared from a dark alley. The knight told them that she wanted to have a conversation with them for a while and apologized for following them in this way. Reen was surprised that she bowed to them despite her social status, and then told them that her name is Stella and she is the deputy leader of the knight organization. They were surprised when she thanked them and told them that she was aware of what they had done and that they were the reason for the capture of the bandits. But now she felt unqualified to carry out her mission of protecting the people and wanted to punish the governor's family for their mistakes. She then added that she needs their help to do so and told them that most of the knights are corrupt because of their collusion with the governor and their neglect of the townspeople, including her commander, Gellet, and expressed her desire to help the knights come to their senses and remember their duty that they should do. And she was thinking a lot until she saw them just now inside the headquarters and felt that she found her way when she knew that they had come to complain about the governor's son and asked them to help her. Reen gets confused and looks to Canade to mentally connect with her and tells her that he has doubts about trusting her and thinks it might be a trap of some kind. She tells him that she feels Stella is a good person and doesn't sense a bad aura around her. Reen decides to follow her intuition and trust Stella. He agrees to cooperate with her and tells her that they have a common goal in the end. When she asks him why he's targeting the governor, she's surprised when he says that they found out what's going on in the city and had to do something about it. Stella burst into sudden laughter at his brutal honesty and told him he made the right decision. She then began to tear up, wishing she could have taken this step sooner. He held out his hand and told her it was not too late, at which point she took a leap of faith and shook his hand. Canade was excited that they were going to take down the governor and the corrupt cavalry organization, but I told her that they couldn't do it without solid evidence. While Reen thought it was a good idea to take them all down at once and decided to set a trap for the cavalry organization. He then took Stella and her trusted companions to a secret headquarters and revealed to them the true identity of his companions and what they can do, and they made a solid plan. In the evening, they succeeded in mobilizing a large number of knights in front of their headquarters, led by Gellet, after spreading a rumor that there is a warehouse that contains evidence of the knights' conspiracy with the governor. On the other side, Gellet told his soldiers that they had to erase any evidence of their involvement with the governor before they were finished. Then they headed inside the dark warehouse, and suddenly the knights began to fall one by one. When Gellet realized that they were trapped and ordered to retreat, he closed the warehouse door, and the sisters used ice magic from the outside to ensure that none of them got out. Meanwhile, Reen, using his new armored gauntlet that Gantz had made for him, was able to take out the knights with precision and execute his plan. He felt he had the best gear ever, and when he fired his invisible arrows at Gellet, he was able to deflect them with his keen senses. Canade and Tanya took control of the situation inside with Stella's fellow honorable knights and ordered Gellet to turn himself in and reveal evidence of his corruption and involvement with the governor's family. Gellet realizes that she is the one who spread the rumor about the fake evidence in collaboration with Reen, and when he realizes that this is the person Edgar is looking for, he feels lucky to save him the trouble of looking for him and decides to take him to where his master is. Stella is furious with him and decides to confront him herself. Gellet threatens to have her executed for treason. When she calls him a traitor, he rushes in and attacks her, but she fights him off until she forces him to drop his weapon, and he hits her with a powerful punch that knocks her to the ground. Then he told her that the justice you're talking about does not exist in this world. She remembered how he was a noble knight in the past and ended up being tainted with corruption, and continued to rise to confront him, and then rushed towards him and succeeded in defeating him with one blow, and told him that she will not become like him no matter what happens and will not abandon justice to satisfy her greed. On the other side, Edgar was furious when he learned what happened to Gallet and his followers and began to pour his anger on his poor captive and called them useless, then thought that he would be safe with more than 100 guards protecting him before he was surprised by Arios sitting at his window and told him that their goal is the same about harming Rien and told him everything he knows about him. Then he warned him that he has no chance against him alone, as he will destroy his life and steal everything of value, and that this is his nature. But Edgar refused to believe it and told him that this city belongs to him as the son of the governor and will not let him get a part of it. And then Arios gave him his magic ring and told him that it brings death to any target he hits, and he can use it to get rid of him. Hostage Nina remembers her past when she was living a peaceful life surrounded by a group of loving humans and wished to live happily ever after. But soon she ended up trapped in a cell and treated as a slave by a powerful sadist. At that time, Stella went with a group of knights to the governor's palace and told the guards that she had come on an emergency mission to inspect the palace. When they refused to let her in and asked about Commander Gillette, she told them that he had been arrested for corruption. Canade and Tanya appeared out of nowhere and told them that she wasn't like the other scum knights, that she had chosen to fight for justice. Stella then said that knights are meant to serve the king, not the ruler, and warned them that she would consider them accomplices if they didn't let her through. They found themselves facing a whole army of guards in front of the palace, and the three of them decided to confront them by force. Meanwhile, Edgar was waiting for Stella to arrive, and when he saw Canade and Tanya inside the palace, he realized that they were Rien's disciples, so he put on the ring and thought to get rid of it so that they would be freed from their contract with him and he would become their new master. Rien and the sisters sneak into the palace to search for the hostages Edgar is holding, then use their magical powers to scan the area around them. Runa picks up a large magical signal just below them and realizes that it's not human because of how powerful it is. Rien realizes that the hostages are from one of the stronger bloodlines and wonders if he is really a hostage or a pawn of Edgar. He asks them to rescue the hostages while he checks the source of the magical signal. Sora warns him that the source of the magical signal has a power equal to theirs and he needs to be careful. He told them that he gave them the task of rescuing the hostages because they have teleportation magic and apologized that this might cause them to be exposed to everyone. They wondered that he was worried about others when he should be worried about himself, and Runa told him that if he didn't return safely, he would be forced to pat their heads 100 times as a punishment. He promised not to do anything that would cause them grief. Then he went towards the magic signal and found a door at the end of the hallway, and when he entered he found a cell with Nina inside, and when he saw that she looked like a fox, he realized that she belonged to the demigods, and then she was surprised when he broke the cell door and approached her and was afraid that he would hurt her. But she soon felt safe towards him when he told her that he came to help her, and she hugged him tightly, crying and telling him her name. Nina remembered when she lived in a small town that was overrun by Edgar and his guards, and when he found her, he wanted to own her, but she tried to stop him with her strength, so he ordered his guards to put their weapons on the necks of the children, and she found that she had no choice but to go with him to save everyone. He gave her a collar that only slaves wear and ordered her to wear it. As soon as she put it on, she became immobilized and could only move on his command, so he started kicking her in front of the children, enjoying his torture of one of the strongest breeds. After telling Rien what happened to her, she said that since then she has been lonely, scared, and in pain all the time. He told her that he is here to save her, and when he wanted to remove the collar, she refused, saying that it contains a powerful spell. He asked her to trust him, and when he touched the collar, he found that it contained a spell to subdue and control the target, similar to the Taming skill, so he decided to use his power to obliterate the spell, but the power inside the collar began to attack him. Nana begged him to stop helping her and suffering for her, and told him that no one would be saddened by her loss. He looked at her and told her that he would be saddened by her loss, even though he had just met her and his friends would be saddened as well, and he continued using his abilities on the collar until he succeeded in freeing her, and Nina hugged him and asked him not to suffer because it would cause her grief. Meanwhile, Stella and her companions were in the midst of a fierce battle with the palace knights, and when the knights saw that they had little chance against them, they decided to use the women in the basement as hostages, but they were soon attacked by the sisters, who told them that they had taken the hostages to a safe location in advance. Tanya and Canade unleash their powers on the knights, while Stella decides to enter the palace and arrest the governor's family herself. On the other side, the governor enters Edgar in a state of panic, telling him to escape without him, and that he will take care of disposing of the evidence of their corruption, so the father had no choice but to trust him. After that, Rien returned to his companions carrying Nana on his back, and they were surprised when they saw her. He told them that she was from one of the strongest breeds that Edgar was holding with the hostages, and they felt angry that he recognized another girl other than them. them. Confused, Tanya told him that she already knew there was a demigod among the hostages after the sisters told her, while Sora marveled that he was able to kidnap a demigod who is mostly worshipped by humans and rarely appears to them. Canade approached her, feeling her fur, and told her that everything was fine after they all came together, while Stella realized that Reen was an exceptional person for his unique ability to tame the most powerful breeds and thanked him for his help, then decided to arrest the governor and his son and find evidence of their corruption. When they found the governor coming out, he tried to flee the palace. When he saw them, he froze, so she pointed her sword at him and asked him to surrender without resistance, and when he started babbling, Reen restrained him with his armored gauntlet. Edgar came out of his room, and when he found his father lying on the ground, he used the ring on Reen, who was surprised by the appearance of a Reaper right in front of him. Before he could defend himself, the Reaper stuck his weapon in his chest. Meanwhile, Arios was watching the situation from afar and felt triumphant that his plan had worked and returned home. On the other side, Reen found that he was still alive and that what happened was like a hallucination, but the girls rushed to him and told him that they saw the Grim Reaper waving his scythe at him, and he told them that he was unharmed, but they felt that there was something wrong with him staying alive after the Reaper's attack. Runa thought to try something like attacking him with a dose of poison, which made the others blame her. She told them that she had been wondering to herself all this time why he had gained one skill by making a contract with them both, and she guessed that he might have gained a hidden ability, and now she discovered that this experience was to nullify the effect of deadly spells, and Reen realized that he had become invincible. On the other hand, Edgar is shocked that he is still alive even after using the power of the ring, as he lost everything because of it, and then he is surprised that the power of the ring reappears and swallows him inside it. So Reen feels that the situation is not in their favor and decides to attack him with a fireball that caused a loud explosion but did not cause any damage to the power of the ring, and they found Kian emerging from the wreckage in his new form, and Reen was shocked upon seeing him as he remembered the demon that wiped out his village in the past. The demon expresses his gratitude to them for waking him up and decides to get rid of them all at once and flies out of the palace. Reen then realizes that he aims to wipe out the entire town and looks at his comrades who depend on him and trust him and tells Stella to take care of the hostages and Nina. But Nina grabbed him as if she wanted to go with him. He told her that she doesn't have to fight alongside them because she doesn't like fighting and asked her to wait for his return. Meanwhile, the demon started destroying houses and causing panic among the residents while having fun. When Reen and his companions appeared in front of him and told him that he wanted to destroy him, he burst out laughing and started mocking him before Canade surprised him with a sudden blow to send him to Tanya, who smashed his face with a blow from her tail, and then Reen tied him up. The demon easily freed himself, mocking his abilities, but Reen told him it was just a distraction while the sisters combined their powers to launch an overwhelming attack on him from above, turning him into ashes, but they were shocked to see him emerge alive from the attack. He then summoned some reinforcements to gain an advantage over them and brought a group of monsters out of nowhere to attack them, but they were quickly annihilated by the four girls, and he realized that his reinforcements were useless in the face of their powers. When Canade rushed towards them, he surprised her with a powerful magical attack that sent her flying for meters. Tanya was furious and didn't hesitate to attack him with her fire, while the others took care of Canade, but she couldn't withstand his power for long and ended up lying on the ground. Then they were surprised by the demon launching a large-scale attack on the entire city. Reen was furious and attacked him with fireballs at once, and when he blocked it, he was surprised by a blade of light embedded in his body. Reen took the opportunity to boost Canade and Tanya's strength together, and they rushed at him to beat him together, and despite the overwhelming damage he took, he still held on. Then he brought out an army of monsters and surrounded them and ordered them all to rush towards them while he went in another direction. Reen realized that he intended to distract them while destroying the city, so Tanya blew fire at him, but he was able to block it and continued to run away. Reen thought about trying something, but he felt bad that if he tried it, many people would get hurt. The sisters asked him to rely on them to take care of the people of the city. They would use teleportation to move them to a safe and secure location while the rest of them defeated the demon, and they didn't care about hiding their identities anymore. Meanwhile, Arios was still in their quarters and wondered why he didn't want to go out to face the demon that had suddenly appeared in the city. He told them, confused, that their enemy was the Demon King himself and they didn't have to fight against one of his soldiers. While Lean agreed with him, Agath and Nina voiced their concerns, and he asked them if they objected to his judgment as a hero and leader, and when they fell silent, he kept thinking that Reen must have already died because of the ring. Stella and her followers confront the demon monsters and try to secure an evacuation route, but they have difficulty because of their sheer numbers. Stella instills courage and fighting spirit in them and tells them to do their duty as knights to protect the people. As Stella and her soldiers left to prepare the evacuation, they told Nina that she was safe with them, and although she felt reassured, she wondered if it would be appropriate not to involve herself. In the meantime, the devil had climbed to the highest peak in the city and was watching from a clear angle as Reen and his companions struggled to deal with the monsters and protect the people, but they were outnumbered. Stella told the civilians to enter the magical circle of sisterhood to transport them to a safe place. People were worried when they saw the sisters and realized that they were anti-human fairies and felt dangerous to enter their circle, which made them feel frustrated that people didn't trust them, but they were surprised by the owner of the hot hot dog restaurant who took the initiative to enter the circle because he knew they were good fairies and told them that humans and fairies are not different as long as they like the same kind of food. In time, people began to come into the circle after gaining trust from each other until everyone was inside the circle, and the sisters transported the first wave of civilians. Before they started to transport the rest, they found a rider rushing towards Stella and telling her that the monsters are here, so Sora decided to handle the teleportation alone and asked Runa to deal with them. On the other side, Tanya and Canade continued to eliminate the monsters without progress until they were surprised by a group of people carrying weapons and fighting the monsters themselves. It turned out to be the adventurers that Tanya had defeated on the bridge before, and they wanted to help her as a thank you. They told them that the guild had made a special request for all adventurers to support Reen's team, and Gantz had provided them with the necessary equipment to repel the monsters. Reen felt grateful for everyone's help as the adventurers cleared the way for him to head straight towards the demon. On the other side, everyone was doing their best to defend the city while Nina stood still, unable to do anything out of fear of getting hurt or accidentally hurting someone, and at the same time feeling ashamed of letting everyone fight without helping them. Although Reen is close enough to the demon, he can't use his gauntlet against it because he needs to get close to its face, so Canade suggests that Tanya turn into a dragon and take it to him, but she refuses because she will make herself an easy target for the demon. Canade and Tanya point their fingers at Nina and tell Reen that she doesn't want to keep running away and letting people protect her. Canade and Tanya tell him that she is a demigod and can use a special power that no other race has, including teleportation, an ability that the sisters can't use. When Reen asks her to help him get to the nearest point to the demon, they find a huge army of monsters heading towards him. Canade and Tanya decide to fight them off to save him time, so he carries Nina on his back and heads towards the demon, who scoffs at the idea that he decided to face it alone. Reen dodged his attacks until he was within striking distance. When the demon launched a thunderous attack, Nina used her teleportation power and Reen appeared and disappeared in the blink of an eye as the demon was shocked that he was using a demigod against him. He summoned his courage and told them that no human could harm him. Reen boosted his own power as the demon ordered his minions to devour him. Reen used his super speed to get right up to him and touch him, and instead of damaging him, he found the demon's power gradually seeping into his body until it took over his entire body. He began to remember that his friends depended on him and gathered his strength and succeeded in breaking the seal of control of the demon's followers and succeeded in taming them and ordered them to attack the demon himself while he was tied up and shocked that he could take away his control over the monsters. And when he asked him about his identity, Reen told him that he was just an ordinary monster tamer, but he would not have been able to reach this level without the support of his friends. When the demon freed himself and rushed towards him to attack him, he turned his monsters against him and ended up being eaten by them until he faded from existence. Suddenly, Nana's powers failed and Reen found himself falling from a great height, but Tanya saved them just in time. With the sunrise of a new day, Reen realized that they had succeeded in preserving the city, although some people were hurt, and after 3 days, the people of the city began to restore it again, and Stella was appointed the new leader of the Knights instead of Gillette, and Nina became living with Reen and the rest after knowing that the people of her village had already left after her abduction, but she is sure that she will meet them again someday. When everyone returns to the inn, Nina tells them that she wants to stay with them and help Reen, and he tells her that he doesn't mind, but he's not sure if he can make a contract with her since he's already done it with 4 girls from the stronger breeds. He then took off his gloves and started the contracting ritual. When he asked Nina to say her name, she did, and he succeeded in making the contract with her, ending up forming a bond with 5 of the most powerful dynasties on Earth, and the rest considered her their little sister. Reen then went to the Adventurers Guild and was surprised to find Stella inside. She told him that she had been discussing with Natalie about the guild's cooperation with the Knights organization. Natalie was very welcoming of the offer, while Stella was happy to be working openly for her country and justice for all. Natalie then said that the guild had decided to promote Reen to C-rank adventurer, when he was surprised and said that he had just been promoted to E-rank and that this meant he had jumped 2 ranks at once. She told him that his efforts in exposing the corruption of the city's governor and eliminating an A-rank demon made him deserve to be promoted to this rank because he was exceptional. Reen was confused and said that he just wanted to protect the city and couldn't have done it without the help of his team. When he learned about the reward waiting for him, he thought he would throw a feast to celebrate for his team, and Natalie noticed that he had added a new member to his team. When Nina introduced herself, Natalie hugged her tightly for her cuteness before realizing that she was a demigod, which meant that Reen had tamed another of the more powerful breeds. He told her that she was one of the reasons they had come to the guild today, as he wanted to get advice from the guild on finding a bigger place for them because the inn room was too small for a team of 6 people. She suggested he buy a house to serve as their new headquarters like any other team in the city, and the guild would act as a real estate broker and provide the necessary funds to buy the house, especially since he is a talented adventurer and they need to keep him in the city. When Reen found that his companions were open to the idea of owning their own home, he decided to start the process of buying a new house. After some time, they couldn't find a suitable house for them in terms of shape and location until Natalie took them to a large house with more than 10 rooms and all the specifications they were looking for. The girls felt that something was wrong and asked her in a skeptical tone why they hadn't seen seen such a wonderful house in the first place, and she told them with confusion that the house had one drawback: it was haunted, which made Canade in particular go into a state of panic and become the object of Tanya's ridicule. They wondered what kind of things ghosts do inside the house, and she answered that they usually flip pillows or make the bathroom water very cold or switch between sugar and salt while eating, so they did not mind the presence of ghosts doing such light pranks because the house is wonderful and irreplaceable. So Reen decided to inspect the house first before making a decision. When they went inside the house, they found it as dark as night, and they kept walking inside cautiously and found it very neat and clean, and suddenly things started moving on their own and found the windows wide open and heard a voice telling them to leave the house before a ghost appeared in the form of a maid girl. Canade went crazy as soon as she saw the ghost in front of her eyes, while the fairies thought of using cleansing magic to eliminate her, but it did not work against her, and she kept telling them to get out of the house immediately. Tanya noticed that this ghost lacked an attack, while the ghost noticed Canade's terror and decided to use the situation to his advantage and deliberately scare her even more. Suddenly, Canade summoned her courage and turned her fear into an attack. The ghost was shocked by her ability to rip her clothes off with one blow, and the situation was reversed, and she became the one chasing the ghost, forcing him to beg for mercy. The sisters then used their abilities to create a barrier that prevented the ghost from escaping or hiding inside the walls until she ended up surrounded by them. She decided to take possession of Reen's body, but he stopped her before she could touch it with her hand, telling her that he was a monster tamer and could tame ghosts as well, and thought she looked peaceful compared to other ghosts. The ghost was furious and refused to be tamed by such an egotist, but she ended up being knocked down by him. He then told her his name and that they had come to talk, and she realized that he was a weird monster tamer and gave up the idea of fighting them. After that, she told them that her name is Tina, and she used to work as a maid in another city and died 30 years ago and ended up in this house and has the ability to move from one place to another. And when Tina wondered how she became a ghost, she replied that the man who escaped from the mansion where she worked was a perverted and sadistic womanizer who caused her death and refused to say why. Reen wondered if Canade was still afraid of her, and when she told him that she felt she could get along with them, he offered to let Tina live in the house peacefully with them as a thank you because her presence had reduced the price of the house by almost half. Tina was confused and wondered if everyone was okay with her presence. Tanya told her that their master was a nice person and she should accept it, so she agreed to stay with them. Reen went to sign the contract to buy the house at the syndicate, and she was impressed by his ability to tame a ghost and include her in his team. In the evening, Arios and his band were wandering around the market and decided to take enough food to last them for a week without paying money, considering that the merchant would help the hero team capable of saving the world from the Demon King, but they were surprised that the merchant refused to give them any free goods. When Arios expressed his indignation for disobeying his squad's orders, the merchant mocked them for not doing anything to save the town when it was in danger, and the other merchants began to vent their anger towards them and decided not to give them any supplies, calling them arrogant cowards. Arios was furious and destroyed the vegetable shop before they left in anger, and his anger grew when he heard people praising Reen and favoring him over him, making him vow to finish him off and be the cause of his death soon. In the meantime, Reen and Canade were on their way back home after shopping, and when they arrived, he found her rushing to the door to welcome him back. He was surprised because it was the first time someone had welcomed him home, and when he entered, he found everyone waiting for them. Then they sat down to have dinner together in a special atmosphere to celebrate the new house, and Nina felt grateful to them and told them that she was not alone anymore with them. And Reen remembered the day he lost his home family and felt that he had a big hole in his heart, and that the same applies to all of them. But they found peace and comfort when they all came together as a team, and Tina felt the same way. Then Reen thought that his decision to become an independent adventurer wasn't such a bad idea, and for a moment he saw his parents sitting at the table and smiling at him, and he started to shed tears without realizing it. But he explained that he was starving, and they all started to eat dinner together happily.